You ever get a phone call that just freezes you? Like the world keeps moving, but your brain just stops, stuck on the one thing you just heard? That was me, the morning after my girlfriend's birthday. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Truth is, the night before had been perfect, or at least I thought it was. We had a big dinner at her favorite restaurant. All our friends came. My brother even showed up, which was rare because he's usually too busy for family stuff. There was laughter, music, cake, the whole deal. She looked stunning red dress, that smile that got me the first time we met, and I was just sitting there thinking, man, I'm lucky. I mean, we'd been together 2 years. Things were good, and I really thought we were headed toward something long-term. So when the party started winding down around midnight, she leaned in and said, I'm gonna go grab a drink with a couple of friends. You don't mind, right? I didn't think much of it. She'd had a few drinks, she was in a celebratory mood, and I figured she just wanted to keep the night going. My brother said he might hang out too, so I gave them both a quick hug and headed home. That's the thing. Nothing about that moment felt wrong, but looking back, there were signs, little things. The way she and my brother laughed at something earlier and stopped when I came over. The way she'd been texting under the table a lot during dinner. But I shrugged it off because, you know, who wants to ruin a good night with suspicion? The next morning, I'm making coffee, scrolling through my phone, when I get a call from a buddy of mine who works night security at a hotel downtown. Now, he's not the type to gossip, so when he says, "Hey, I think I just saw something you should know about," my stomach drops a little. I ask him what he means, and there's this pause, the kind of pause where you know the next words aren't going to be good. He says, "Your girlfriend and your brother, they checked in here last night. Together." And I just stood there, mug in hand, not moving. My first instinct was to say he must have been mistaken. But he knew them. He'd seen them both at my birthday a few months back. Same girl, same guy. He says, no mistake. I didn't even realize I'd set the mug down until I heard it clink against the counter. My heart was pounding. My face felt hot, and this voice in my head just kept saying, no, no way. Not them. Not him. I mean, my brother. You ever feel like your brain is trying to reject reality? That's where I was. I wanted to call her. I wanted to call him. I wanted to drive down there and pound on their door. But I didn't. I just stood in my kitchen, staring at nothing, replaying every interaction from the night before like some detective in a bad movie. And here's the thing. The more I thought about it, the more little pieces started fitting together in ways I didn't like. How he'd text me earlier in the week asking if she was still into big birthday nights out. How she'd seemed distracted the past month. How my brother suddenly had free time this weekend out of nowhere. My hands were shaking, but I grabbed my keys. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I couldn't just sit there. I drove toward the hotel, every red light feeling like an eternity. My mind racing between anger, confusion, and not gonna lie, this sick hope that maybe it wasn't true. Maybe my buddy had seen someone who just looked like them. I parked a block away, because I didn't want to walk in like some movie scene. I didn't want them to see me coming. I called my buddy, told him I was outside, and he said, man, you don't want to see this. And guess what? That only made me want to see it more. So he met me at the side entrance and let me in. We took the service elevator, my heart banging in my chest so loud I was sure he could hear it. He didn't say a word, just walked me down the hall and stopped in front of a door. He didn't have to tell me whose it was. I could hear her laugh, and his voice, together, on the other side of that wall. And that's where I froze. Because the next move, that was going to change everything. I stood there in that hallway, just staring at the door, like if I looked long enough, I'd somehow see through it. My buddy kept glancing at me like he was ready to pull me away, but I couldn't move. I mean, what do you even do in that moment? Knock? Kick it down? Walk away? Every option felt wrong. My fists were clenched so tight I could feel my nails digging into my palms. And then I heard it. Her voice. Low. Playful. And then his. My own brother. I can't explain the mix of anger and disbelief that hits you when you realize the two people you should be able to trust the most are in there together. Not gonna lie. Part of me wanted to burst in, to make a scene they'd never forget. But the other part was telling me, don't give them that. Don't give them the satisfaction of watching you break. So, I turned around. I walked out of that hallway, through the side door, and back to my car. My buddy didn't say a word, just gave me that look like, I'm sorry, man. I sat in my car for a long time. No music, no phone. Just sitting there, staring at the steering wheel. My head was a storm. Questions, accusations, memories all crashing into each other. And here's the thing. I realized I needed proof. Solid, undeniable proof. Because I knew, if I confronted them without it, they'd lie. They'd twist it. They'd make me look crazy. So I drove home, calmer than I should have been, and started thinking like a detective. I remembered my girlfriend had left her laptop at my place a few days ago. She never locked it because she said she had nothing to hide. Funny, right? I opened it up, went straight to her messages, and there it was. A whole thread with my brother. At first, it was innocent stuff. Jokes, memes. Then it started getting flirty. Inside jokes I didn't know about. And then, the plans. The after party they'd been hinting about. The hotel booking confirmation. I just stared at the screen. Stared and waited for my brain to catch up. My hands were shaking. But I took screenshots of everything, sent them to my phone, then to a backup drive. I wasn't leaving any chance for them to delete the evidence and spin their story. For the next 2 days, I didn't say a word to either of them. I wanted them comfortable. I wanted them thinking I didn't know. My brother even called me, acting like nothing happened. Hey man, great party for her, huh? I just said, yeah, it was nice, and kept my voice steady. But inside, I was boiling. I started noticing little tells how she'd leave the room to take work calls. How my brother suddenly had inside info about things I only told her. And every time it happened, I felt that anger, sharpening into something more focused. I wasn't just going to call them out. I was going to make sure when I did. So I set it up. I told my girlfriend I wanted to take her and my brother out for dinner. Said I wanted to celebrate her birthday again. Just us three. Because we didn't get to talk much that night. She smiled, agreed without hesitation. My brother texted me. Sounds good, man. They didn't see it coming. And here's the thing. I wasn't doing it for some dramatic public scene. I was doing it so I could watch their faces when they realized the game was over. When they realized I'd been sitting on the truth. But as much as I thought I was ready, I had no idea how far they'd push it that night, and how the moment I dropped the truth would turn into something even bigger than I planned. The night of the dinner, I got there early, just to get the best seat, the one where I could see both of them clearly. I ordered a drink and waited. My brother walked in first, all casual, big grin. Like he didn't spend the night of my girlfriend's birthday in a hotel with her. He slapped my shoulder, sat down across from me. Man, feels like forever since it was just us, he said. I just smiled and nodded, letting him think this was some friendly catch-up. A few minutes later, she walked in. She looked nervous. Not a lot, just enough that I could tell. Maybe she thought I knew something. Maybe she was just guilty. She kissed my cheek like nothing was wrong. Sat next to my brother, which was the first little slap in the face. I kept my tone light. We ordered food, made small talk, laughed about old family stuff. I let them relax. And then, when the plates were cleared and the check hadn't come yet, I leaned back and said, So, I've been meaning to ask you both something. They looked at me, my brother leaning in, my girlfriend sipping her wine. I pulled my phone from my pocket, tapped the screen, and turned it toward them. First, the screenshot of the hotel booking in both their names. My girlfriend froze mid-sip, wine glass hovering in the air. My brother's eyes went wide, then narrowed like he was trying to think of an excuse. Before they could speak, I swiped to the next set, their messages, the flirty ones, the planning, the can't wait to see you after lines. My voice stayed calm, almost too calm. They both started talking at once, her saying it was a misunderstanding, him saying it wasn't what it looked like. I just stared at them, stared, and waited. The silence after I didn't respond got heavy. She set her glass down with a shaky hand. He leaned back, rubbing his jaw like he was the victim here. And I'm thinking, these two really believed they could lie their way out of this. That's when I said, you know what's funny? The guy at the hotel that night works security, and he's a friend of mine. He saw you both walk in together, holding hands. You want to tell me that's a misunderstanding too? That shut them up. She dropped her gaze, and he just shook his head like he was out of options. I stood up, dropped some cash on the table, and said, we're done here. My girlfriend reached for my arm. Please, wait. But I pulled away. I walked out, didn't look back. I thought that was the end. I thought that was the big moment. But the real punch? It came the next morning. I'm at home, packing up some of her things into boxes, when my phone rings. Unknown number. I almost didn't pick up, but something told me to. I answer, and this woman's voice comes through calm, but with this edge to it. She says, you don't know me, but I think we should talk about your brother. I'm instantly on guard. Who is this? She tells me her name, and then she says she's been dating my brother for over a year. My mind is racing, because that means while he was messing around with my girlfriend, he had someone else. And here's the kicker, she says she found out about the hotel that night because she saw the receipt on his desk. She thought it was for her until she saw my girlfriend's name, and she wanted me to know she was ending it with him too. I just sat there, phone pressed to my ear, feeling this weird mix of anger, relief, and something else I can't even name. Like, yeah, they betrayed me. But now I knew they'd been betraying other people too. When I hung up, I actually laughed not because it was funny, but because of how pathetic it all was. Two people I trusted, thinking they were so clever, and they couldn't even keep their own mess straight. I finished packing her things, dropped them at her place without saying a word, and walked away. I haven't spoken to either of them since. And you know, I don't regret that. Sometimes the clean break is the only way forward. But I'll never forget that call, the way it turned my anger into something colder, sharper. A reminder that people who'll betray you once will do it again. To someone else. And here's the thing. I'm okay with letting them find that out the hard way.